rumah.
Dish this up here.
Okay.
All right. So this is vegetarian chili tonight.
Is it vegetarian chili?
Bean chili. And this is a Harry special, is it?
This is my special.
Is it very hot? As in chili hot, not hot hot?
No, it's not real hot because Karen can't take real. is over with now. So
It's rather fun because I've got both you and the canvas being the shape it is in at once. Okay, I'm going to paint Harry. And I'm going to use acrylics again. And I'm going to use my filberts. Well, I reckon that should stay like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd leave it like that.
Bit dark down here, signature will do it. Got as flash as you. Your signature is very close to your father's, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Were you influenced?
Oh, very much.
Yeah.
Very, very much.
Because you did worship him, and so
I did.
understandably.
Yeah. Well, some of the signature comes from the fact that we used to try and forge his name to write excuses not to go to school.
Very good. So, you've been in that court yet, but any problems?
Combat was within, so on the nose. All was built that only standard operated here outside of the main, space, so we got all those planes.
Things that you don't realise because.
It's real interesting stuff in there. We're back in the middle of the States.
Oh, did you?
And at one time it had ocean front when the ocean came straight through here. And I've never seen the whole story together.
You cut these yourself?
Yes.
Amazing, yeah?
Yeah. In 1600, a guy named Tavernier went to India. And he came out with this 112 karat blue crystal. And the only record of the crystal is a sketch that he made in 1600. Well, he took it to France and he sold it to King Louis XIV. And King Louis had it cut into this gem, which was... So, what happened was somebody broke the lock and stole the thing. Really? Yeah. And I'm saying to myself, boy, I like because of the crown jewels. And this is a replica of the largest diamond ever found, which was 3,106 carats. They took it to Amsterdam, and the House of Ushers studied it for over a year before they cut it, because diamonds are the hardest thing in the world, but they're also fragile. In other words, if you hit them wrong, they'll fall apart. I cut these too. Size Tyrannosaurus. And this guy, this is the first of the saber-toothed tigers. Many, many moons ago. I don't know.
They auction them off for charity.
Right. Right, I understand that.
she has this exact same pattern.
These are your own creation.
Yes, we are.
Great, wonderful stuff.
Well, thank you. These are all bagels.
Yeah.
I have a white bread line and then a whole wheat line. And then this is cinnamon roll twist bread turned over into twisted savory bread. So I have a jalapeno cheddar and a roasted garlic rosemary with mozzarella, white sandwich bread, roasted tomato basil mozzarella, green olive tapenade with feta, and marinated artichoke with pork.
But we have sheep and stuff, and cows and all that, but we found out the sheep does better. And I mean, all winter long I lay.
Encompasses Scottish, Irish, Welsh,
so you're
the whole lot, and I'm
and
in
this says these
particular.
are fresh.
I lived in France. J'habite en France pour 8 ans.
Ah oui.
Tu parles français aussi?
Bah, bien sûr, je suis français.
Yes, these are fresh goat cheeses, and today our seasonal flavor is ramps. And this is a leek flavoured onion that is grown in the mountains, harvested only 3 or 4 weeks out of the year, and is very much loved here in the mountains. There are festivals about ramps, and every time we do ramps cheese, it is on.
Fantastic, thank you.
I have a question. I think I know the answer. Is there any way we can celebrate the future now?
See, I'm just totally taken with angles and I did chemistry, so it's all angles and mathematics and.
that be hot sauce or
I mean, they have more than one vegetarian.
like no party for you. I got her on. No party for you. Real ball.
You're a good man.
In a minute.
Yeah, the old signal corps was Navy.
Yeah, you can do that. I don't even, very few people do. You drive by the courses.
Just to be
Kelly, do you have a permission slip?
If you're interested in things other than just art, then you'll find before I became early retired with a damaged spine, bad back and so on, arthritis now, which is why I have my stick, and I'm going to sit painting most of the times before we do those, and then this lot, which will be included in the film, so you'll actually see yourselves later, possibly on YouTube or on the film, because I'll send a copy on to your teacher as well, where I'm doing travel. And last year I did Cuba and a couple of other countries as well. And I travel and look at the culture, the people, the foods, and then try and choose archetype places to paint. So what I've chosen here is the drumming in town. I thought you might just relate to that a bit. I didn't go in close onto it. And what I wanted to show you was a way that I was taught, and we're always learning. Whatever level we're at, there's always new stuff to learn. I went to a demo with Harry the other day at the local art society with another teacher, because we're always picking up new tips and things. And this particular technique, normally in watercolour, you work with your biggest brushes to your smallest, and you work from lights towards darks, and you work to the detail at the very end. With this very fast technique, I'm going to be painting some details first, fairly loosely still, and then very loosely finishing off at the end. Now, and Monet, believe it or not, when he eventually got glasses towards the end of his life, took one look at his paintings and wanted to repaint the whole bloody lot. Because he'd done them, he just didn't know what he was doing. That's why he's an impressionist like me. I need glasses as well. So I paint as an impressionist as well. So who thinks they're really bad at art here? Who thinks they're the worst in the class? You think she is? Right. So I'm going to ask you to come up and help me later on, all right? Because you can't make it drink. I can teach anybody to paint who wants to. And then it's not going to be a matter of making you paint what I want you to paint or paint like me. We as teachers have to gradually bring out of you who you are individually, what you're good at, what you like. Some of you might like pop art, some of you might like impressionism, some of you might like photorealism. We have to find out who you are and help you to come out. So here today I'm just going to show you a few techniques that are rather fun, very loose. And I'm going to want one lad who thinks he's bad at art as well. So I'm going to pick on you again. Yeah, I'm afraid, having opened your mouth once, my friend. What's your name?
Santiago.
Okay, Santiago, I'm going to ask you to come out. You're going to help me do a lot of mess on here. You're going to splatter some paint for me, and we're going to have some fun on that one, all right? That way through it. Don't worry about it. It's nothing. Art should be fun. And if we're not having fun, what's the point in it, really? I mean, I know some of us have to do it for a job. It's no good saying if you're a commercial artist, you've got to get up in the morning and you have to be able to do that art. You've got to produce it for the money. But for most of us, it's just doing art for fun. Right, I'm going to start with this one. What people don't realise with soft pastels is that they can be used with water. And they are semi-waxy. Now, China graph pencil literally is because you're going to write on some glass or china so it won't wash off. On here then, once you've made your mark, you've had it. So if you're not really good at drawing an ordinary pencil first and then go on with these. So it's not going to move when I put water on. It's great for something like a snow scene. If I'm doing a watercolour, I can put the darks on first, the watercolours next, then the pastels. In this case, I'm going to work pastel and water over it, and we'll just see it coming through. That's when Santiago's going to come out and bring them back again, and then we're going to work some acrylics over it just to give the blossom. Quite fun, quite fast. With the watercolour being transparent, we work from transparent colours, the lightest colours first, to the darkest. When we're doing an opaque paint, we can go either way. I usually start with opaque paints, oils, acrylics, from the middle and work outwards. So I go from middle to lights to darks. In this case, we're going to be doing from the middle, there's darks underneath, and then some lights on top. I do not, in my colours, use black. I know that is black there, but we're going to tint it. The Impressionists did not use black in their palette. Prussian blue, deep blues. I've got to work so fast, everything an hour and a half. I'm working, if you can't understand me, I apologise for my Brit accent, but we'll get it. I can speak in French if you like, instead, ça va? No? Yeah? Parlez-vous français? Okay, en anglais. I speak in English then. So we're going to work from our lights to our darks in this one, and details, and then go very loose at the end. Let's get straight into this because time is short. My brushes are for different purposes. Feel that one. And then feel that one. You've already got some hakes over there, I've noticed. So 3 different brushes to try out. Pass the mic round, please, as long as they come back again. Now, the reason I'm giving you those brushes to feel is because of the paper surface. If we want to get into the paper surface, we need a soft brush to get right into the molecule, the surface of the paper. If we want to just go over the surface of the paper, then we want a stiffer brush. So you've got 3 sorts there, that nylon, slightly stiffer intermediate brush for dry brush work over the surface, a soft brush for getting right into it, called a mop, and then there's that hake one, which is actually horsehair. I think you've got some over there as well, which is great for larger work and splattering as well. Different effects. Masking fluid, I use a grey masking fluid. It's a latex liquid that we put onto any area that wants to be white at the end of the painting. It dries and then rubs off at the end. I use a grey one because if you use a white one, you can't see where the hell you put it. Sponges, sea sponges, not so easy for you to get around here. They're very expensive in art shops. We just go to a seaside shop and get a little bag of mixed sea sponges for about $5. They cost about $5 a piece in an art shop, so it's stupid. You can always find ways of doing things cheaper. Great for doing textures, and even the brushes that we've been looking at, that hake brush, when it's slightly drier, is great when it's split slightly for doing grasses or for doing leaf textures. Right, so there's my reasoning. Watercolour paper itself comes in 3 sorts. It comes in smooth, which is called hot press. That's this one. You can feel this paper later if you want, which is like satin. It comes in knot, which is not either, and it comes in rough. So rough, knot, and hot press, okay? I've got a rough on here for the rough surface for the texturing I want, and I've got a hot press smooth there. You can use pastels on watercolour paper. If you use a pastel technique where you coat the paper first with pastel, or you have, but worse still, you have a coloured paper, coloured papers don't keep their colour. They'll go white after a while, the sunlight will burn them out. So it's wiser to either put a layer of pastel on or a very thin layer of acrylic paint, and then it won't change afterwards with your pastel. Here though, just straight into using pastel. Now, you want to get some special effects here as well. I'll need my mop again. Yeah, you can put the water on first and then the pastel, or the pastel in the water. I'm going to use the pastel in the water first. And get these effects of reflection and so on, and this cherry blossom going through. I've already got those very rough light lines done in. Great big chunky pastels these. These are called unisons. They're made by a firm in England, Yorkshire. Lovely soft, and they're quite expensive, a couple of quid a piece, but you know, the better the quality, the softer they are, the more they cost. These bright coloured ones are very cheap. sort of Japanese made, but you can't get the bright colours in the more expensive pastels, so I found those great for flowers. I just want an intermediate tone first. You'll notice straight away that we're going to put a coat over this. What you won't at first expect is the way that that will mix with water. But it literally, you see, straight away becomes transparent. It's slightly opaque. Now, you can get away with students' quality paint with oil paint or just acrylic, but you can't get away with student quality in watercolour. If you're going to do watercolours, they go opaque, they don't work as well. You've got the cheaper quality watercolours. Sorry if that's what the schools can only afford, but you know, when you really get into watercolour, you must buy the artist quality. It's the only way you're going to go. Now, when we first put water with pastel, it goes darker. It will gradually lighten out as it dries. Don't throw all the bits of old pastel away, even bits that are broken on the floor. Save them all up, and eventually you can grind all those into one powder, mix them with water like a paste, roll them into another little grey pastel, instant pastel free charge. So don't throw bits of pastel away, grind them up, reuse them. Let that dry off a bit. Now I can mix into that straight away. I can take, say, a cream and come into that while it's still wet. Very free, very easy. Now my motto is, if you start loose, you can finish tight. But if you start tight, you can't go back to being loose. Do you agree with that? Better, because I'm not going to finish this otherwise, right? So start loose, you can finish as tight as you want. You can be photorealist, but if you start tight, you've had it. Now that's gone all muddy, and you think, oh dear, what's he going to do? But that will actually be better for the lighter colours later, and I can still put lighter colours over the top. Now pastel works. It's very similar to watercolour. Pastel is pigment, so little particles of colour, held together by a medium, which is called gum arabic. Watercolour's the same. And now I softened my watercolours first before I used them, so that I could start to mix them and get them onto the paper. But when you smudge pastel, it kills it, because the little particles reflect light. So when you first put on your pastel onto a traditional pastel and block and blend it, it's killed it dead. The same with fixative. I don't use fixative for that reason. Your final coats of pastel, it's vital that they're put on and left alone. Just gently put on. So when this is drier, I'm just going to put a little layer of pastel on that, and it'll bring it to life again. Coming down into the green greys, just have a grey down there. Seems strange at first what I'm doing, maybe. You'll get the idea as I go along. I'm going to be quick. I'm going to do this one in about 10 minutes, really. Warm colours coming to the green. The trees coming up into there. If I were to go over this where the wet areas are, you see how much stronger it goes. You can decide what you want to do. You can even move it around with your fingers. You can manipulate it almost like oil paint. It's a great way to paint. Don't be limited by preconceived ideas. Most of my students come to me having been taught by somebody else, and they get all screwed up with what teacher told me to do. You can only put a wash on left or right. You can only do this, you can only do that. No, if it works, do it. There are things that won't work. But you must be free to totally enjoy your art. And mixed media is a great way to do it. This is mixed media. So we can just do the dark tone, we need to make them dark later. Talking about great big thick pastels, it's going to be very hard for me to do very thin lines with those pastels. So there's two ways I can do it. I can go back to my Chinagraph pencil, or when I put the darks on in a moment, I can use the water and the paint to drag those out and paint with that pastel. So it's a very fluid way to work. We want to reflect that sky slightly, so I'll bring it up into here again. Right down to there. So an opaque medium being used transparently. Don't look at that brush, doesn't really matter, it'll be alright. So it's going to right mess at first, but I start very, very loose and then I'll tighten up as I go along. It will all start to make sense. With Impressionist work, it's called broken colour. Not so much happening in this one, but more in oil I do. What we're working with is something called broken colour. And broken colour is when you make red and yellow. What colour does that make, red and yellow?
Orange.
Orange, yeah, you know that one. Right, if you put red and yellow dots next to each other, from a distance the eye is fooled and they look orange. It gives that shimmering effect, and that's broken colour, like quantinism. I use a lot of that because it makes colours brighter. Now, that can also happen a little bit with watercolour, because if you mix two colours in the palette, they can go dead. When you actually drop them on the paper, together and they merge on their own, they can be much, much brighter. And we're going to do a bit of that in a minute on the watercolour. Let's get some of these greys going on there. I think start to now we can start to do a bit of texturing and just the tip of the brush. One of the reasons I like these oval mops is because you can use either the fat side or the thin side. Remember when doing very fine work and you're using a very fine round brush, the finest mark you can make is not necessarily with the tip as it is round, but squeeze it to make it flat like a razor blade, and you can get a thin mark as well, which is a bit what I'm doing here. If I squeeze that down and use it very gently, I can make some very fine marks for the grasses coming up here. And we're getting an interesting granulation going on there as well as the paint drops down. So let that dry off a bit, and while that's drying, before I want to work in it a bit more, I'll just put a little bit of reflection going on in there while I'm at it. Get some of these darks going just here. I'll reflect them down with my fingers. A trick for doing water, okay guys, nice smooth lakes water. Paint the depth of the water first. Paint the reflections first, and then the surface of the water afterwards. So here I'm doing my depth, my reflections of things that are coming in, by doing more vertical strokes. And I'll come back in with the brush and water in it, because this is drying already, so it's quite dry and not very humid in here. So I'll come down with a bit of water, just get my vertical strokes going in there, with my fingers. And once you've got those reflections starting, I want a bit darker in there as well, so I get a deeper grey.
That looks really nice.
It'll come as I go along, thanks. You know, you'll be surprised, these things will suddenly come together. And now that's my vertical strokes then, the little bits of the trees coming in. And I'll just start to indicate some of these branches and the trees behind by dragging the pastel out with my paintbrush, yeah? We can move this paint around. And once I've got those effects, then I can start to look at the surface, the reflections on the surface. Going through that, down. This should be fairly dry. Yeah, that's not bad now. This is why I wear a smock. I'm just buying Harry one of these as a present for looking after me. This is a traditional Cornish fishing smock. They've got pockets in these, it's quite nice. Cool in summer, warm in winter. You can buy them over the internet, about $20, not too bad. And they last forever. Actually, we'll do a bit bigger one because I put a bit of weight on now, but they're very comfortable. You can just wipe your hands like that, which is the beauty of them. Which is what you need, isn't it, Harry? Could you make a mess?
Oh yeah.
That is a much more tidy painter than me. Okay, back on here for some of the lighter colours. Let's have a little bit of this. Lighter blue. Now just over the surface look, scumbling. Now scumbling is when you go over the top of the painting lightly. So I'm just letting the very surface texture of the paper pick up my lighter colour there. And I'll drag that down through these colours to give an effective atmosphere just slightly here. Lovely atmosphere. And now into here now where these reflections were as well, with a little bit of light coming across the water. And some of the verticals. More cream maybe in places.
Is it very important in what direction you paint?
Well, so I'm getting the depth of the colours in with the verticals, and now I'm doing the surface of the water more with the horizontals. Like that, yeah? So if you've got a bit of wind rippling across the top, then you'd be doing a horizontal like that. If I wanted more depth in the water, then I'd come in with my darks and bring them more vertically in between to give that effect. Right, coming back to these trees, I'm going to use a very deep blue for the minute, but just to give you an idea, I'm going to go down to a black by the end of it. But I just want to show you how you can make things stand out in the front. Now, the basic recipe for the cake. For a normal landscape, you work from detail to outer focus. You work from warm to cools. Can anybody think of an exception to the rule? Warm to cools, when would that change? What time of the day? Sunset, sunrise, yeah? Because it's warm in the background and cool in the foreground. So in this case, it's an ordinary day. This is a very dark grey, in fact. It's not actually a black, but it'll do for what I want here. And bring it up a bit. There we are. You see the effect you can get with the grasses and by splitting the brush a bit? Equally, I could do that with leaves if I wanted by pressing on them. Can you come out and join me now then? You got it, that's it. Don't worry if you break the lead, but you get in there and that's it. Feel those branches now. You see the way that he's actually starting to feel the twigginess of those branches. What you want to do, when you want to make a mark about something, you cannot draw an object with a tram line around it. You have to feel the edge of the broken marks or the tin can or the glass or whatever. You've got to feel those marks. Now trees grow like an atomic explosion. The acorn comes down, hits the ground, explodes upwards, explodes outwards into those great mushrooms of leaves, and then eventually autumn comes and they all drop down again. So we're growing from thick to thin to thinner to thinner, and trees hardly ever go thick, thin, do they? If they did that, there would be something wrong with them, wouldn't there? There'd be, that's lovely, you're doing great. Now see how that drawing's really coming out, it's got a strength to it. And what I like about what he's doing, he's actually doing an abstract. He's intuitively feeling which branches he's going to do. You don't even realise that, but you know, he's just picking up, where shall I do next, where shall I do next? And corner of his mind, corner of his eye is choosing where to go. Now that's an intuitive abstract. You're putting things just where you want them. If I asked all of you to paint a picture just using circles of colour, dots, I'm not going to tell you what colours, what sizes, it would be fascinating how many different variations you would all do. The girls would be mainly pinks and little pretty blues, and the boys would be stronger colours, bigger colours, you know, and you might be splattering them. But you'd all be placing them just where you felt was right. And they'd all be different, and they'd all be your personalities. It would be quite interesting to see. Yeah, that's it. A big splatter all over the place. I better move this one then. You've got a nice white t-shirt, better keep it clean. Your mum's going to give you a slap on there when you go home. That's right. What have you been doing? I can't remember English, you know, tomato, tomato, and potato and potato, and I get used to it. As long as you can understand me. Is anybody having difficulty with my accent? Can you all understand, basically? That's all right. It's a foreign language to you, isn't it? Now, these colours. In every colour we use, there is a warm and a cool. You got the cramp? Or is it just where the needle goes in? Art should be fun. The teaching should be fun. We should, you know, you've got to relate to me as well. I'm nervous coming here. I teach in terms of thousands of people, and I'm more nervous coming here for you guys than I was doing that actually in many ways, because I feel under more pressure. I don't know, these little old ladies from the art societies, you know, they're all right. But you guys, you're important. I mean, you're going to be the future artists. If you think you're about done there now then? Yeah? If you want to put a few little bits and pieces down here, look at the picture. Maybe it needs a few little bits of grass or dark twigs down there, we'll have some fun. Right, in every colour there's a warm and a cool. So in blues, a warm blue would be towards a purple. If it was cool, it would go towards a cerulean, the more greeny blue. In reds, it's the other way around again. We've got the very orange reds as warm and the cooler purple reds as cool. In greens, the browner greens or the cerulean greens towards the blues. And even in yellows, not only do we have, I can't tip those up because we're going to paint everywhere if I do, but there is a cool yellow, that very light lemon yellow. And there is a warm orangey yellow, yeah? You wouldn't think that yellows could be cool and warm, but they will be. And not only that in watercolour, we've got transparent and opaque as well, and we can use that. That is an opaque lemon. That doesn't look very nice, but it's my favourite yellow. It's aureolin, and it's very lovely and transparent. That gold there, there's raw sienna and yellow ochre. Yellow ochre's not transparent. That is transparent, and there's a huge difference when we come to use them. So it's quite important that you gradually learn those as well. So what I put on here, it's going to matter whether I can put something over it. Now in watercolour we're doing something called washes and glazes. A wash is a wash of colour put straight on. A glaze, when that's dry, that colour, a glaze is the colour put on again over the top. So if I put a colour on and it's dry, and I put exactly the same colour over the top, it would be twice as dark, wouldn't it? That's a glaze. And we can variegate a glaze, and as they're transparent, like pieces of coloured glass over the top of each other, we can change the colour by those colours one over the top of each other. So that's quite important to know. Now the techniques we're going to use are wet into wet, wet next to wet, and wet on dry. Wet into wet is lovely, all lovely abstract effects, splurges everywhere. Wet next to wet, the same, it goes into each other, and wet over dry gives you a hard edge. So if I want a hard edge, I've got to do that. To stop that hard edge, I can blend them. Go back to that one, I don't want to be splattered. plenty of it on and get used to flicking it. There's all sorts of ways. That's it, yeah. No, that's good, that's great, that's it. Try and get as many blobby bits as you can. There's other try out as well. That's it, you look at the picture and try and get them where they're going as well a little bit, so that these colours are spraying out. That's good. Right. Then we're going to go a bit pinker in a minute. Hands-on jobs. Yeah. That's the way, you got it. So I'm going to start painting now the darker shapes, leaving the surrounding lights. And if I'm going to paint this figure here and that there, let's look at those different blues straight away. I've also got different brushes for different effects as well. A sword brush like this, for instance, is a very useful brush because you can twist it into various shapes. Say I want to do that leg there. You're all right, you just carry on until you feel it's... I mean, this big lump here wants something doing. Right, so that light blue, I've written cerulean blue there. So let's get straight in. I want to be fairly strong with my colour at first. Now, watercolour will dry about 2 tones lighter than when we put it on. So I'm not going to wet the whole paper in this case, I'm painting my numbers a bit. I'm going to start painting, and you see how I can leave dry areas like that which are quite effective. I'm going to start painting straight on, and while that's still wet, coming with my next colour. Fairly strong at first because I want my lighter colours to really show up later, so if I don't go strong enough now, although I can always put more on. Simple as that. Now I want virtually I want things in single brush strokes. So if I want to do the creases in that, then I just put a few creases around a leg like that, that's there. Onto the darker colours. Now I want a much, much deeper blue. My blues, working from cool to warm, was a cerulean, cobalt, ultramarine, and then I go down to Prussian, which is a fairly cool, but it's very dark. Come round the back side here. So you can see why I like these sword brushes, because I can angle them in any direction I want. And I'm going to drop some wet into this a moment. That blue comes right down, actually comes, I'm going to soften that with a wet edge here, let that just drop in there. Now I want to go to a very, very dark blue. So down to a Prussian, straight in, leave it alone. Let's try and make it one brush stroke almost, and done. We're firstly going to leave that alone, and we're going to build up the whole painting as loosely as that. You've got about enough on there now?
Yeah, I feel so.
That's great. Okay, you go and clean yourself up now, mate. Well done. Just wash the brush and palette if you would. Can you do it as well while you're at it? And can you do the palette as well? Oh, that's very good of you.
What?
The palette. That thing you've got, what do you call those?
It's a palette.
It is a palette, yeah.
I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, it's a palette, yeah. So you've used a brush and palette there. Give them a clean up of yourself. That's great. And we'll let that dry off and then I'll work into it a bit and we'll pull that together. Now, the cool colour here. I reckon I'm going to start with cobalt violet. Now, there are a lot of colours that you cannot make. And this beautiful cobalt violet is one of them. You can't make this colour, so there are some colours you've just got to buy. And it's a very cool warm, isn't it? It's being a violet, it's a bit bluey red. I'm going to have that lady at the back. So you're going to come and help me do all these figures in the background later, all right? Alrighty? Is that the way to say it over here? So let's start putting my lighter colours in first. Then I'm going to go to my stronger after that. So that's my pale colours, and these colours are reflecting the daylight from above, because it's a blue light from above. As it comes down, it gets more orange. So I'm going to go to a cadmium orange, really strong orange, into there, all the way around. Thank you very much, you did real well.
Did you say to wash this or no?
If you wash it out for me, yeah, that's be good, because it'll go solid. Acrylics dry fairly quickly. That's good of you. Don't worry if it can splash in and there, that's all part of the effect. You're not worried about things like that. Nice and loose, nicely enjoyable. At the moment I'm losing most of this white paper, because these lovely sparkly effects can be fun, but at the moment I don't want them too much. I'm going to come back onto those later. Leave those warms coming into that light round. Here, one colour into another. That's wet into wet now, you get these lovely soft effects. I'm going to go warmer still, but I'm going to use a rose It's still a fairly cool red. So I'm using several colours on the go here. Make more sense when I get more colours in. Put these in. Start loose, finish tight. You can lift watercolour out, so if I went totally wrong, I could come back with a brush, dry the brush out a bit, and suck the paint out. You can see I'm gradually building these colours up from the cool to the warm, and as I'm going along, I'm actually painting some of the detail in. Get darker with that later. Warmer and warmer. Now a very warm red into here, and see the difference. If I wanted to make something seem different to something else, I don't just keep painting warmer colours, yeah? If I want something to seem very warm, I'll put something cooler next to it. So we've got rough next to smooth, light next to dark, warm next to cool, and those will make things come out. So it's lovely colours. You see these nice sort of abstract effects we're getting as well here now. They get stronger and stronger. Now let's go to a strange colour you might think to be using in here, but I'm going to use some brown to darken this right down and make those lights really stand out. So brown is still a form of red, isn't it? It's just greenier red, I suppose. So she's now got the light above shining down and in there. And we've got the shadowed part facing towards us here, back of her arm. And back into there, got some of the shadow going on. Right, we'll leave her at that. Now let's look at her head. I'm going to put a wash of raw sienna all the way across that, so this golden colour just for the moment. All the way down, just cover her head up. So I'm giving an impression, I'm getting the effect of light. So it's still an impressionist painting, even though it's got little dots of colour. Into that we start to get our strength of colour again. Let's get the effect of, you don't have to paint hair by painting every little detail in. If you were drawing your own portrait or somebody's portrait, find the tones first when you do the pencil rubbing. Use a putty rubber and you get a lovely smooth effect. And then you can, with the putty rubber, take, when you've got all the tones basically right across the head, you can take out the lights, go in with your darker pencil and put the dark lines back in, just indicating it, but don't try and draw every hair in. It's not going to work. Back into here again. There's so much I'd love to teach you, but I haven't got the time now. You have to come me back as an artist in residence or something. We could have hours of it, couldn't we? Right. Let's go really dark and purple now.
How long did it take you to do like the sketches on paper before?
Now that's a very, very good question. Because to do a loose painting, you still want a fairly tight drawing. You can paint loosely within a good drawing, but you can't paint loosely within a bad one, or you'll enhance mistakes. How long do you reckon I spent on this, Harry? A couple of hours or an hour and a half?
Well, I think it was about 3 or 4 days, but I'll let him have it.
Yeah, come on.
No, it was quite fast with it. Quite fast with it. Probably just a couple of hours, literally.
Yeah. But, you know, it's experience as well, and it takes time. Okay, that'll do for that for the moment. Round, and then we've got a colour coming in here that's very dark as well. So I'm painting by numbers now, you know, just painting light, dark shapes in, leaving the lights behind now. A bit light on top there, so more purple up there. Easy as that. That colour over there. Now let's go to a lovely blue called ultramarine. Look how much warmer that is. It gets very dark down below again. Down here, just a moment. I'm not worried about these colours coming in and dropping down here. They're there anyway. I've got a bit more warmth into this into shirt to join it together. Let that dry a bit because it's going to go too far. So while that's drying, look at these plants here. As we're painting light next to dark, I'm going to put the plants in first, like that. A little touch of green into there. Let those dry off a bit. Got to come back to things as they go on. Now let's look at his face again. A little bit warmer, perhaps. A bit darker and warmer down there. So, this is here, there. Just feel under his chin, nose. Can't do much more than that. Come back to the hair in a moment. Simple as that. Try not to start putting. If you're not painting somebody's portrait, now that's different. If you were painting somebody's portrait, then they'd want it just like them. When you're doing an impressionist work like this, especially for selling, if I'm doing children on beach or something, the last thing somebody wants to see is somebody else's children. They want to imagine it's their grandchildren or them when they were younger or whatever. So you want to make some money. I told you guys, I was sitting in a pub about 10 years ago now, and this big lad about 7 foot tall comes in. He looks over at me and says, "You're Mr. Wood, aren't you?" And I thought, "Oh Jesus." And he said, "You used to teach me." I thought, "God, I hope he didn't hit him." And he was over like this. He said, "I want to buy you a beer." I said, "Oh, that's good. Why?" He said, "Well, because you taught me to draw portraits at school, and I'm in the RAF now, and I'm making £5 a time painting little portraits, so I'm going to buy you a beer, mate." That's all right, yeah, you can do that if you like. So it works. Right. Simple as that. You can see where it's drier now, how the edge is slightly harder. And I put a fairly warm colour on there. Now I want to drop in there with something a little bit cooler, to give it darkness. I'm not using black, I'm using dark colours to make my blacks. My deepest in oils would be the Prussian blue, possibly, and burnt umber or something like that, you see. Harry's a master of the greys, actually. He makes the most amazing variety of subtle greys and things in his painting. But Harry paints these cubist pictures, which are very neat, very tidy, very considered shapes one to another. Mine much more spontaneous. So this week, Harry and I are going to paint together. On a big canvas, we're going to have 3 paintings on the go. I'm going to paint mine, he's going to paint his, and every 10 minutes we're going to go back to the one in the middle and just spontaneously do our own thing and see how it goes. It's fun. You know, you get so stuck in a rut, you guys. You know, I've got to do my painting teacher says, you know, she won't. If you say, "I've got this idea, what do you think?" Unless it's painting the whole room, you know. I mean, she's going to probably say, "Yes, you want to work together, do it." Right. Now, that purple we were just talking about, I'm just going to put a little bit coat of this stuff on here. And then, the purple we were just talking about, get that quite thin. I don't want it too thick. This is this transparent business and all that stuff. It's a very strong colour, that purple. I've got to be careful with it. I might just do it, let's see. Yeah, that's about it. He's got a check shirt on, so I just want to indicate the idea of a check shirt there. Coming across. Around the form. Looks strange now, but you must remember that that light colour is going to be left behind shortly. And I put that there. You see the sharp edge I get. It's slightly damp. So if I come in here now with that, get a bit warmer, I get fairly sharp edges. Now, if I wanted to have something light, I've already said to you that I need to do masking fluid, but I can go back in with white acrylic or white gouache afterwards, or I can even put a little bit of pastel over the top if I want. So there's me doing the darks around the lights, but painting the negative shapes in, whereas with that one over there, now on this one, it should be dry enough by now, it's still a little bit wet, I might have to go a bit longer, but I can now come back onto this as it dries with colour and start to work in some detail over the top and pick out these individual flowers. So what was just a load of splodges, I can start to pull into actual petal shapes. So I can start to bring out and twisting the pastel and using it, not just cross, I can feather with the pastel to different, feathering is little short strokes like that. Down around here, start to pick out these bits of blossom. This could go many directions. I could come back in here with paint. I could put more light paint in and paint it in more detail. You can come back in with that China Craft pencil and go darker through parts, as I'm going to do in a minute. Use some very bright colours, maybe. Let's take some of these really garish pinks. Have a look at whether any of them would look fun in there. Put a little bit too light, needs more white possibly. The green's going on behind. You start to get the effect from back there. I don't want to do too much with this one. Can you see how the effect is coming? Yeah? I hope. Is it all right, Harry, back there? Because this lot, you're not sure. Is it looking okay? Mm-hmm. Just all right, okay. You're an artist because I didn't ask them. We're all artists, by the way, every single one of you. There's not one of you in here that can't say I'm not an artist. You can all do it. But it's just finding who you are, that's all, which way you want to paint. Some of you might go away from this and think, oh, that was a load of slopping paint around, that was far too loose, I don't like that, I want to be much tighter like a photograph. You can do it. What I'm doing is showing you ways. Let's get on with my brushwork here. A lot of figures to paint in, so I'm going to work quite rapidly now. Just very, very loosely. I better get these figures in fast. So just almost single brush strokes. Painting these negative shapes in, leaving the light shapes standing out. Letting the wet go into the wet as I need to. And it's now dry. So I'm going to show you a little technique now. I was saying earlier about making things, softening things once they're dry. If I make those marks there, now come back with the water, that's wet on dry, and this is now blending, bringing those colours back in more softly again. Look at that. A bit more ultramarine going on with him, because I know later he's going to need to be a bit darker. So there we go. Right, on with the rest. It's going to be fun doing this. I want this to be very, very loose later. That actually is fairly tight. It's probably as tight as I'll go in this painting, believe it or not. It's a little bit painting by numbers. I'm afraid you've got to put up with that but the thing, like a jigsaw, will come together. Now, this technique I was talking about of if you paint, and this is something that I keep doing in my films, my DVDs, if you paint the right colours, in the right shapes, in the right places, relevant one to another, the right colour, the right place, the right shape, correct to the next one, it'll just happen like a jigsaw. I can keep placing these all over, keeping the whole painting going. Try not to finish one bit, because if you finish one bit, it'll be wrong. Put a bit on, and then compare it to the other bits all around, and keep your whole painting going, because one bit will be wrong. It's only when you've compared the whole lot you can really get into it. And then it just appears like a jigsaw. This painting will, in half an hour's time, that'll just be there. If you try to paint all those complicated figures, you psych yourself out. Jesus, I can't do that, But just, I'm not even thinking about it, I'm just doing bit by bit, and it's going to just appear, Now let's look at these leaves. That lemon yellow with a bit of green will give us, and I'm going to use the brush in a very mottled effect. If you want a bright sunny day, then you want really strong lights and darks against each other. If it's a dull day, then the tones are very close. Now the way to see tone is to squint. If you squint your eyes down at this painting, you'll see the darks become darker and the lights light, and all becomes almost one series of tones. If you want to see colour, then you will make things, you open your eyes up a lot more. Right, nice and loose, just blobs of paint at the moment, just feeling these trees cascading down, gradually working up from the light to the dark. If there's a particular way you want to paint or questions you want about colours or...
Has your hand ever hurt a lot from painting?
Sorry?
Has your hand ever hurt from painting? Because you hold the brush?
I'm in a lot of pain already. I have a rare form of arthritis, and I have a degenerated spine, I have a prolapsed disc, I have ME, I have a form of leukemia, and one or two other illnesses, and I'm here painting for you. But I'm always, to hold my arm up, sometimes when I'm painting I have to do that. But I prefer to work at a distance. Now these brushes, when I'm doing oils, I'm working like that. It's almost like a fencing match because I need to get back. You know, with my style of painting, you can see just blobs and dots. I've got to get back. And as I get more detail, I go in closer. But yes, it is quite, it shouldn't be painful to you, but it is for me because of all the things I've got growing in the joints and things. To the old git I am. He's catching me up there. At least I've got my hair. What made you look? Right. So that's the soft effect. I'm going to come back in on that with some darker, sharper leaves when that's drier. So we're making little dots and dashes, light against darks, and gradually a crowd will appear. A dark against the light, a light against the dark, a rough against the smooth, a cool against the warm. And gradually, just by painting little dots and dashes in, you'll get the effect of figures en masse. Top, dark against that figure there, dark down the back of the legs, and here. That figure then stands out. Somebody here as well who's dark in the same way. That senior, is that the senior? It's going to be, oh, yeah, come on then, out you come. You're going to have a quick go now. We're not having you getting away with this. Oh, no. Right. This big brush, bring it just over here, come right over here. So sit just this and there. Are you right-handed? Yeah. Good, okay. What I want you to look at is these figures here. Now, what I'm going to do, deliberately, most of this is dry now, look, and I can paint some water over there, look, without it blending, Now what I want you to do is just look at the different colours here, and get a little bit onto your brush from me, so say it's a bit of that colour, maybe it's just going there, look, just drop it in like that, and just keep dropping in these colours all over in there, alright? Do we need to do this? That's it. Whichever colours you see here, you just drop them into the wet. There you go, just one stroke there, perfect, it works. She's an artist, it's working. You know, it's not so difficult. It's not so hard. Just enjoy it. So we look for some of these strong colours, look at these blues and these purples, and you can just drop them in there, whatever those shapes are, one by one, and you will get us the effect. That's it. You'll get the lovely. Now try a bit of the blue, so clean the brush each time. That's right. Really, so have you got any tissue paper or towels? Yeah, because you want to go to dry your brush now. That brush is not bossing you, you're bossing the brush. There you go, lovely, that's right. Let it just trickle down, that's fine. So you get all these feeling of these figures. The idea today, even if I can't get it finished, is to give you the techniques, is to show you the fun. Okay, I'll go back again now then, well done. So it's good fun, yeah. And it's not as hard as you thought. All you're doing is putting the shapes in the right colours, and it'll all just happen. Right, I'm going to come before you guys go, I know you're going to miss this otherwise. That is now dry enough to do hard edges on. So if I now make a really strong dark green, you can see how we can get the shapes of the leaves hard edged now against that light. And I'm still a little bit of wet into wet because as I do this, I can drop one colour into the existing wet colour look. Now this brush is called a rigger. And the purpose of it in the old days was that if you were painting sailing ships and you were painting the rigging, with oil paint, you would have the liquid background of the sky, say a white or whatever, and you drop in your colour, see how thin that is? And it takes a lot of paint into it. And you drop the thin line in with that, and the liquid paint would close in around that line afterwards. So that was the trick of it. In this case, we're not doing that. I'm just going to flick in some of these. Working. Come on, that's better. Let's see if we can just put in a few of these dark branches coming down here. Tree behind here that's going up the other way. So while I'm at it, I'll press just a little bit harder to widen it out. As I press, I'm going to press light, then hard. And that will give me a thin to thick line.
Yeah, I do a lot of computer work at home. You did the oil, right, in pastel?
small scale here. Easy to. What I'm doing here is the old English method of blocking and blending. So I block in the colours first, and then blend them in. And pastel works by the reflection of light on the little particles. So when I block it like this, it's killing it. It's dead. But when I put fresh coats on and leave them alone and don't touch them, they become very bright. But this is so I can remove all of the paper. The paper colour never remains the same. It'll fade after a while. So unless I actually paint the paper, which I do in some cases, it's going to fade. So I'm putting in all my base colours now. So now I'm starting to blend in. I've blocked and I'm going to blend in now the other colours. You see how bright that is now?
Yes.
Yeah. But if I blend it, look, it goes dead.
Yes.
So I'm going to blend it first and then just gradually and subtly drag the pastel over to start to get this effect of light. Little bits of cloud that are coming up here.
Okay, that's how that is.
And then it's slightly yellower in the background, so a little drag over of very, very light colours. Just gradually blending. And this is now broken colour. Now broken colour is an impressionist technique. See how bright that makes that?
Yes.
When you put red dots next to yellow dots, the eye is fooled into thinking it's orange instead of mixing the colour.
Oh, okay.
So that's how the impressionists worked, and they would just put these colours one to another, and you get this lovely light effect, you see. Now I'm coming down to those various blues in the distance, so I'm going to put that grey back in there, underneath that, and now you see how it goes against that pink. It's a solid colour, but it's just going to blend in slightly. Right in the background there. Now as that comes down, I want that to be slightly pinker, so I'm going to take quite a bright pink, might seem too bright at first, and just blend that in. Oops, the wind got my paper, that didn't help. Just subtly blend that in there to give a little bit more warmth in between the mountains. Let's get rid of that bit. Very subtle colours. It's these slightly warmer pinks coming in. That gives us my distant hill. A little bit of mauve into that, just to darken it slightly at that lower edge. Just these little bits of subtle colouring can make all the difference. One colour can make such a difference to another colour. Now if I'm wanting to make something a lot warmer, I don't plonk more and more orange or red on. What I might do is the opposite, is put in more cool.
Oh, yes.
So the opposite will make the cooler look
brings
cooler.
out the...
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Now the next mountain layer becomes slightly warmer. So now if I put some cooler colour in there, look how warm that hill now looks next to it, you see. Right, and then I get the idea of a landscape, like a recipe, is that you go warm to cool. So in a normal day we go warm greens, cooler, cooler, cooler. In every single colour in the palette there is a warm and a cool version. So really red is a warm, or orange is a warm, whereas a mauve or a rose would be a cooler. In yellow, lemon yellow is cooler, whereas cadmium, which is much orangey yellow, and so on. So here we've got the cooler blues in the background being affected a little bit by the warms. And as I come forward I'm going to make these colours stronger. So what I'm going to do now is go to a warm grey, this one, a green grey, and cover the whole of this lot. That shape comes in there, down there, in and down here. Block that all in, use the dust up. With pastel dust, if I were working in a studio, if I were to save all this dust and mix it with water when I had enough, I could make another pastel. It would just turn into a nice grey. All it is pigment bound together with a little bit of sort of gum arabic. And so the gum arabic is in there. All it needs is water to activate it, and it will stick. Which is watercolour is the same, but watercolour has finer pigment. Now if I just start to do this, just towards the tops of the surface, it'll start to give me the effect of the tops of the trees, you see? So very easy techniques, but... So that's bringing the lights into the darks. Now I go into reverse and come back. And if I do the other way around, I can bring the darks into the lights. Right, now I've got to go to deeper blues.
If you mix some elements in with that and you do that, you might get different painting.
Yeah. When I did the Chapel of Carmerans in France, the plasterwork was a certain pink, and I was almost certain that they'd used the ochres from the local mountains. So I went and bought some white plaster and mixed the ochre from the mountain, and it gave me the exact pink of the original medieval plaster.
Okay.
So I was able then to match the colour of the old chapel. Still on. Yeah.
You've got an audience now.
It says time up, Peter.
I should need another half an hour. And these colours won't really work until I get these stronger colours in the foreground, because these stronger warms and darks will push those back.
Yes.
It's like having white paper,
Okay.
and you've got to cover that white paper to see the colour. Oh, the white looks too bright.
Right.
And just touch the tops of the trees like that. There's some different greens amongst them. That was a warm green, a yellowy green. Now I need some slightly cooler greens going on, which almost takes us into the ceruleans here. So let's take some of this stuff, which is much, much cooler, and just touch that very bluey green down into here. Which makes that other warm seem warmer again, and then you start to see colours elsewhere as well, so there's some of that going on over here. A lot warmer. So if I take some really dark green and start to come in there, you see how much darker that is then? And this is going to push that back. So I start just to make marks about those leaves, not copying every exact leaf. I'm just making an impression of those leaves, putting the right colours, as I say, in almost the right places and the right shapes.
Do you sell your paintings?
Oh yes.
Yes, he does.
When I get a chance.
His
I have a whole website with them on.
Yeah, he's from Great Britain, and he's lived. You're back there for 2 years since
France. I was in France 8 years, and I'm back there 2.5 years now. Yes.
Beautiful place in France, where he held classes and things as well. But just his photography and the paintings he's done are just unbelievable. But yes, he's got
I've known Jack for how many years now?
What is it, 12 years?
Yeah, because I'm only 20 years old, so it can't be that
14
long.
yes.
You remember little Hannah?
Yes.
See, I took a picture over your shoulder and showed her what you were doing. She wants to be here right now. She wants lessons from you.
Well, you bring her with you to England, she can have them, or invite me over there to you, and I'll do them there. There you go. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I'll tell her it's an open invitation. She can get away easier than I can, so don't be surprised.
Yeah.
What is your website?
peterwoodarts.com.
peterwoodarts.com.
Art or art?
Arts, A-R-T-S. No, not Peter Wood.
Yeah. Do you have? Where are your business cards?
I've got them in my pocket, but if you want to grope my pocket...
I'll let Jack do
Yeah,
that.
here, Peter, I'll take care of that.
Right, so let's go a wash of raw sienna on first.
So are you local or not?
Yeah, I'm in Hendersonville.
Oh, you're in Hendersonville.
Mhm.
Okay, you're
Yeah.
in Asheville, then, right?
In Asheville, yeah, I'm showing at a Tellier Gallery in Asheville, and I show in South Carolina, and I show up in Columbus, Ohio, too.
Oh, really? We're from Columbus.
Are you really?
Yeah, yeah.
Really? What part of Columbus?
Well,
Like southern Delaware, northern.
yeah, like Powell, Lewiston
Powell,
area.
Lewiston, yeah, okay. We're originally from Buffalo, New York, and then 14 years ago we moved down to Columbus, and we were there now. Just past September, we just moved to North Carolina.
Okay.
So, yeah, here, you take a look at my stuff online.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, thanks. Harry Wozniak.
Yep.
It's like the tennis player Wozniak. You know that girl?
Mm-hmm.
She's a girl tennis player. Yeah. This is from, I think, Denmark, maybe?
You'd be surprised what you can do, really, step by step with a good teacher and help. And it's
So what is your name?
right. If you haven't got a pen on you, have you? Because I've only got one card left, so I can't.
You know
give
what? I've
a
got
card.
some of your cards in my
Have
wallet.
you? Oh, right. By all means, have a look at my site later as well. When you've seen his, I mean, when you've seen proper art, have a look at mine. Never.
All right.
Now, what I'm doing now is dropping this colour wet into wet, and then if I'm tilting the board slightly, you see it's coming downwards, so we get this sort of slightly rainy effect.
Yeah, I
It's
see
quite
that,
fun.
Yeah.
And then gradually using different blues to make the greys. If I use blue and brown, it gives me a grey. And if I take that slightly lighter blue as I go along, and let it trickle down this way, I can put a second coat on later. Say I wanted rain coming right across here, I could put, when this is dry, another coat on, tilt it either way to get the rain going either way.
Are you like self-taught or did you
No,
go to
no,
art school?
I did an honours degree in London, and teaching certificate, taught for 28 years, and then had problems with my spine and things, so I was able to get out of all of that, unlike Harry, who's just made that move, haven't you, Harry?
Mm-hmm.
Very bravely given up. I'm going to go a bit dark. Now, watercolour always dries one tone lighter than when you put it on.
Mm-hmm.
So that might seem a bit dark now, but actually when we get it done, it's
It'll
going to
lighten
reflect
up.
that it'll, and it will reflect this day as well. So, right. Now that bit of blue there I did. I come back across tops of those mountains now. And just let that have a broken line. Now,
So what you're painting right there, when it's all done, how much would you sell that for?
well, in American money, it seems to be very different to where I am. Over where I am, I'd get about £80, something like that for it. Not an awful lot.
Mm-hmm.
Over here, we get several hundred apparently. So he's on a better deal than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Watercolours, you're working the opposite. You're working with your lights to your darks. One spot of rain can, it's
Mess
somewhat
it up.
annoying. Yeah, it's not so good
Blotch
today.
it up.
Now let's have that darker colour. Come on, dry off. Bloody masking fluid. If I get that in my brush, it messes the brushes up immensely. My hand there. Better.
Are you doing watercolor?
Yep. Trying in this weather. It's a bit dull, but it was
No.
nice. What's that new fancy brush? Oh, there it is. And that'll do. Right, now we've got to get in these, having rubbed the masking fluid out, we've got to get in these very light bits of lichen, or lichen, however you call them. Not an easy colour to make. What am I going to go for? I think very light cerulean blue at first. I can't see what else I'm going to use on that. Maybe lemon, maybe a bit of aureolin yellow and cerulean blue very, very thinly. So we'll tint those whites out straight away with the aureolin yellow.
Here's your real good picture. Let me get a picture walks you down. Hellbender.
That's a
Mud puppy.
Mud puppy we call them. They live in the river.
She was about yay long when we had her. We've had her 4 or 5 years. You ever heard of a tiger trout?
I've heard of them, but I haven't seen them.
Well, right there's 2 of them.
Yeah.
They're a cross between a brown and a brook.
Oh yeah.
And
that's a big old rainbow there on top.
Yeah, and then they've got a brown down here sulking on the bottom, and that's a brookie. That's a brookie right there.
No, they're
yeah.
pretty fish, aren't they?
Yeah.
But there are plenty of them that size right out
yeah.
there in the river.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, you see my hand up there, watch this.
It take long?
No, it don't.
The rainbow got him.
Yeah, the rainbow get him, but the brooks
Settlers from Europe arrived in the mountains with new ways of living.
People now have a more respect for the black bear. Our bear numbers are at good levels, and I think the public in general understands the role of the black bear in the forest.
In 1972, the Wildlife Commission closed the fall turkey hunting season, and we intensified our restoration efforts.
In general. So one of the things that we're interested in doing is provide fishing opportunities for people. On one hand, we stock fish in streams for people to catch. We hatcheries that raise trout and stock trout across the entire western end of the state. And on the other hand, we
packed it out at 11 pounds, 14.75 ounces. And then the boga said 12 pounds
12
three times. So I'm gonna call 11, 14.
Gonna call it a 12-pounder.
Nah, I always used to take the lighter weight, but he was 26.5 inches long, but it was a male brown, and he got me. He laid me open. He actually bit me.
Did you?
Yeah, he actually bit me.
He said, you mess with me, I'll...
Well, and the funny thing about it is I caught him on a number 14, tan sandworm worm. And I threw minnow patterns in there. What he's doing, he's laying up there eating all them dead fry coming out of that upper pipe. And all morning long, I watched him chase about a 22-inch brown out of that hole. Every time that brown would come over our son, he'd glide into him and chase him plumb up the river, but he'd come right back and lay in that hole.
Yeah. You go
Yeah, and, you know, but some of them small things you have to back off to 6 and 7X.
Well, I'm typically fishing 6X.
Yeah, well, that's what I caught that. That's what I caught that brown on up there on 6X.
I broke one on it. Snapped that 6X.
Well,
like
I was up here 3 weeks ago, and then me and Bill Griffin come up, not this last Sunday, but Sunday before that, 2 weeks ago, and Bill caught one up there that was about 29 inches. And he had backed off to like 3X tippet and was fishing a woolly booger and just flopped it out there. And what they're doing, they're up there eating that. But and then,
Yeah. So these are the spawn.
yeah, the spawn, everything. This here's just made out of S-Spaz, crystal chenille that you use to tie boogers.
Mm-hmm.
And you put about 3 wraps on the hook and tie it off, and it makes a little what we call a crystal egg pattern. But and then you flip over to this side, Joey's egg. You know, when I go steelhead fishing, these are the only 2 boxes I carry. That's got some big streamers, Joey's eggs, big nymphs, some little clousers in there. And this here's the old standard sheep fly. What you call it? Sheep.
Now that supposedly works here locally as well.
Oh yeah, it does. I mean, the thing about that sheep fly is you can bounce it on the bottom like a nymph, or you can cast it and swing it like a wet fly, or you can literally cast right to it and fish it like a streamer, jerk it back upstream. And I mean, that's a good, what I call a covering pattern, so you can do it different ways and everything. I mean, if you tie them from that long to this long up there, you can fish them up here, but the bigger they are, the less bite you'll get. But when you get bit, it's going to be a big fish, and it's going to be I mean, this fish is this broad across the back. I mean, I done like that, and I had to do my hands like that. Yeah. And I done like that with my middle fingers, and I couldn't get these lateral ones. Yeah, I had a participant there. We measured him. He was 26.5 inches long. Here's up and everything. Ants. Yeah. Any size. Fishing dry or wet, they've been going. So, but you know, it's just general waters all the way to the top on the San Juan. This is the color and the size that I caught Big Boy on the other day.
The pink one?
No, on this one right here. That tan cream looking.
Okay.
And I mean, he just went like this, opened his mouth shut, and I says, I hope he eat that worm. I done like that.
Bamboo. Right. Actually, I built 2 of them.
Yeah. Stiff stuff here, but what I like about this stuff is when it gets wet and it absorbs the material, it will not fold over. like the softer leather will. This here will swell up and it'll feel, when you pick it up out of the water, you can squeeze it and it feels just like a big old juicy inchworm.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, it is.
Well, the tan one looks like a worm.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you know.
Or this
yeah,
one too.
Yeah.
They look like a worm.
Yeah, and this here's just your regular old chenille. You know, if you go and tie sandworm worms, use that micro chenille because it works better. You know, and then this here's Bob Wolf's famous fuzzy yarn. You know, and you can wrap it around the hook, and that gives you that little buggy effect right there when you take that and wrap that around there. And then this here is just some closed cell foam. It's white, but you can get it this color and the green and stuff.
Yeah.
And you can wrap it, and it'll give you a real good segmented.
Observation deck, you can see, and then this is all of our chapter information. We come and change that on a regular basis. We got a fly fishing school coming up, school for kids. But and the trouble is some people treat them like they're big teddy bears. There's one there. There's a little guy.
There's two there together.
Here's three of them. There comes one up.
There's about 2.5, isn't
he? Yeah. There's some a lot bigger than that in there.
Yep, one small one gone behind him as well.
Three of them there. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whole flock of them. That looks like a rainbow.
I think it's a brook trout, that one.
Is it a brook?
With the zoom on.
Bunch of little guys. There's some big browns hang out under that cut bank over yonder. River gets up. There's all kinds of them. There's probably 100 fish.
In this bit, yeah.
River, but you can't really do that in this section.
Fishing, yeah.
Because there's people fishing.
Well, here we are on a lovely little trout stream. First actual day we're going to try fishing. I'm going to drop my line in just below this bridge here. These little pink wormy things I've been given. Let's see how it goes. Well, last cast and we've got a nice little rainbow just under the bridge of all things. You never know, do you? There we go. Green in then. That's ready. Another nice little brook trout. Into the net. And there we are. And look back underwater. Well, last cast and we've got a nice little rainbow just under the bridge of all things. You never know, do you? There we go. 3 men then. That's ready. Another nice little brook trout. Into the net. And there we are. And look back underwater. Well, we're in on the little white fly, it's rather nice. What have we got? Let's have a look. Not huge, but a fish, which is good. Oh no, it's a lovely brook trout. Lovely little brook trout, look. Some lovely little pools coming up. Blockages and pools. We're into a small one here in this lovely little pool, and one of these little green worms. Loads of fish in here. It's a nice little. Well, it's got me underneath this tree at the moment. Bring him in. There he comes.
usually find them here about this time of day. This is Peter Wood. Peter's your wife is going to have supper there when I get home tonight, so I don't want too much.
Too much.
Beautiful.
Not really.
Water and blowing